What's good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I got another Florida trip story. This one's gonna be about my flight, specifically the flight back. To be honest, this is probably it. I can't really think of anything else from the trip that was really worth making a story on, but we'll have to see. There's certainly, excuse me, guys. Anyway, there's definitely other trips in the past to Florida that I want to make future videos on. But yeah, stay tuned for that. But anyway, yeah, last video from this Florida trip. But anyway, like I said, it's gonna be about my flight back and how terrible it was. So right off the bat, you hear flight home, and nobody, gets exactly excited about that. Like, come on, who wants to go home, fly home after you're on vacation, especially in Florida? Well, I certainly didn't. Like, come on. But so I was already, not in the best mood ever. Like, I was just like, ugh, back home, yay. And yeah, so this flight took place. I left from Tampa, and then I flew to Philadelphia, back to Philadelphia. Anyway, uh, yeah, so I was not, looking forward to going home, and but it is what it is. You have to kind of just be like, yeah, time to go. Uh, but yeah, so I when you get to the airport and stuff, and I kind of get settled in. It's nothing crazy yet. It's pretty normal, stereotypical. I'm just like like do 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 do. I don't want to go home, but nothing crazy happens yet. But then I eventually get on the plane. And we're kind of boarding. We're sitting there and stuff. Now, this is a very important detail. There is a baby, a child, seated with the mother right next to me. And you know how there's three seats typically on an airplane: window, middle, aisle. I was middle, of course, best seat, right? Uh, and this mother was aisle, and then there was also a guy on the just a random guy on the window, and this guy's a legend, and you're gonna find out why later. Uh, but yeah, I was child. It's like that's kind of like the all dreaded thing to deal with on an airplane, having a child next to you, because most children are not calm on flights if you've ever flown with one before. And I can tell you that I've heard plenty of stories of how, crazy I was as a child flying, and I'm sorry to those people who had to deal with that, but yeah, I just flying with children is no fun. But I, of course, had to do it. And uh the pilot kind of talks about how the runway is a little congested, or clogged, or just backed up, whatever you want to say, and we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to take off. It's just like, all right, whatever, it's fine, who cares, not a big deal. And basically, bro pulls out of the terminal and drives to the runway, the pilot I'm talking about, and makes another announcement, and kind of does it in this manner. He's like, "This is your captain speaking. We're going to have to wait about 40 minutes to take off due to air traffic. It is what it is. Sorry." And oh my god, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Here we go. And the entire plane just goes, oh, and it was that was a little funny, but it's just, how what else, like, how else are you gonna react like that? That's just that's ridiculous. Why did we even board the plane? Like, hello, why? You could have just delayed it and, like, made us sit in the airport or something. Like, I don't know. So, like why? Literally, why? We had to just sit there on the runway for 40 minutes, not moving. And and you have to take into account that, you're already on the plane for at least 20 minutes, and then you have the entire flight ahead of you still. I just can't. And it's finally time to go, and we take off. And remember when I told you about children on planes? This child, at the takeoff, just starts, being a child and crying and whining and doing all these like type of things. And uh I would say, to my memory, this was even going on a little bit before the flight took off, but especially after. uh And to be honest, I forgot to mention that this legend guy, he's kind of, I think me and him got a similar mindset about this flight. He just wasn't having it. It's just he was not, feeling this at all. Just like when the announcement went off and when he found out there's a child, his reaction was priceless. He would be like, oh, 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 you gotta be freaking kidding me. And, if anything made this flight a little bit better, it was this guy. But at the same time, it was like, this dude is like speaking facts. Like, this is just not fun. Uh, and so, yeah, he just keeps doing that. Like, every time, like, the child cries and stuff, he's just like, oh, 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 oh. Oh, it keeps getting better. Oh, I love kids. And now I'm going to drop what airline this was. It was Frontier Airlines. Yes, a wonderful airline. It was my first time flying it. Probably going to be my last time flying it after this terrible experience. And, I it's budget airline, right? And, it's like, I don't even know why it matters too much, because the other airline I fly is Spirit, the other bad rep brand. It's whatever, I just don't feel like spending money on good flights. It's not completely necessary. But usually Spirit is not as bad. Like, I've never had this whack of an experience on a flight before. It just, so yeah, I'm boycotting Frontier. So this guy says, and pardon my French, fucking Frontier. I was just like, oh my god. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's right. Like, clearly this airline is terrible, and dare I say, shitty. But yeah, um, it's just, yeah, just, no, just terrible. And it's just, the flight was just so just irritate. Like, I just, the whole time I wanted to land. The whole time I was like, where's Philly? Can we be in Philly already? Philadelphia, where are you? And it just felt like it took forever. It felt like I was on this flight for 6 hours, and it was like a 2-hour flight. Well, and you also got to factor in the 40-minute wait. I just I feel like this is more of a rant than a story time. But if you guys were here doing this on this flight, you would be saying the same things and feeling the same things that I am. And you know, yeah. So this kid, right, the whole flight just crying, 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 whining, 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 and the best part was, I don't know. Apparently, there were other family members at a different part of the plane, and at one point, the parents just sent the child to them, and that was the most peaceful 20 to 30 minutes of the flight. And of course, they had to come back, and now, for the most funny part of this flight, my boy, the legend at the window seat, basically he put in a crazy order of snacks and drinks, alcohol drinks and snacks with the overpriced flight attendant menu, and basically one of the products he asked for they didn't have, couldn't provide to him, and they were like, do you want a they're like, do you want a different snack or do you want a refund? And then he was like, yeah. So he had like a couple shots of like, I forget, I think it was like tequila or something, and or why am I blanking on this? I don't know. Maybe it was Fireball, something, something. Oh, I know, Tito's vodka. Yeah, that's what it was. Uh, and basically he's like, "Can I get another Tito's?" And then they're like, "No, but we can get you a snack." And he's like, "Just get the refund." And then they walk away, and he's like, "Man, I tried to finesse them with the Tito's." I was just like, yeah, man, that was savage. Sadly, it didn't work out for you. But yeah, I was a little bit of comic relief on the flight, but now we start to get to the descent part, and to be honest with you, something about this descent was just horrible, horrible. Like the popping in your ears was like to the max, through the roof. Like never this much pressure before, and you just felt like so, like like it just felt weird, like you just didn't feel like right the whole time. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, am I okay? Like, am I gonna make it through? And meanwhile, still wah wah wah, cry cry cry. My boy to the left of me is still complaining and stuff, just like woo, 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 woo. But it was funny. Uh, and as we were landing, kid just wouldn't stop crying, and he was like, "Yeah, just ride it out to the end, buddy. Just all the way, finish strong." I was just like, God, this dude, this kid, this baby. And we finally land, and you know how it takes forever to get off the plane. It's God forbid. And we're all talking, and I forgot to mention that they always tell you what the weather conditions like before you get off the plane. And usually when you're going on vacation, they're like, "Oh, the weather in Florida is 80 and sunny," and everybody's like, "Yay!" But they tell you, "Oh, the weather in Philadelphia is like 45 degrees and cloudy." And then my boy was just like, "Oh, oh, 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 I'm so glad to be back." And I'm just like, "Yeah, me too, me too." And yeah, so everybody's talking after we land, and everybody's agreeing like, "Oh wow, that was a terrible landing. Like what was that?" And I was just like, "Just get me off this plane, please." And then I get off, and you might be thinking, like, okay, story's over, right? No. Well, I call my ride, uh, one of my parental unit, uh, and I live a little ways from the airport, pretty far, especially with traffic. And I like say like, yeah, I landed. Now, mind you, I texted that the flight was gonna be late due to this 40 minute this 40-minute runway wait, and basically they're like, okay, and they were like, stupid Frontier online, like the time was just like whacked up, and like I don't know what it was, but they weren't very informative. And my parental unit said, "Didn't leave the house yet. Sorry." It was just like, what do you you didn't leave? Now it's okay. It happens. All of us forgiven. God forbid Frontier be informative, and you also get caught up in your life, your job. So it's whatever. But I was just like, huh, the icing on the cake. Now I get to hang out in Philadelphia International Airport a little bit longer. But I made all up for it because I got some wonderful food. Gotta get yourself a cheesesteak in Philadelphia. So it made it all better for the terrible experience and wait in the airport. But once I got picked up, finally, that is when the story ended. I just want to take a minute to throw out there that earlier this morning, on the day of this recording, there happened to be a freaking earthquake in New Jersey. Like, you can't make this up. Like, yes, they've happened before, but like it's so rare. And now, fortunately, it wasn't a big one. It was just a little one, and you were kind of just shaking, like, yeah, I don't know what that was. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, earthquake in New Jersey, crazy phenomenon. Figured I'd throw that out there real quick. But yeah, that's it. That wraps it up. Terrible flight. Don't fly Frontier. That's the moral of this story, I guess. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, guys. I certainly didn't, but at least I can entertain you guys and laugh about it as a funny story. But yep, if you liked it, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, and have a great day.